Now, staying with the story, I'm joined by Royal Zulu historian and history lecturer at University of Zululand, Shalom Mbata, to talk us through some of the processes which as cleansing of the utensils used during the burial and their significance. Mam Shalo, very good morning. Thank you for speaking to us. Just put us into perspective the processes that are going on that we can expect around the cleansing ceremony.
Traditionally, the cleansing ceremony of His Majesty was passed on, involves a hunt, and as well as a cleansing of some of his personal artifacts, like the shield, like the spear, like Isagila, and Nopkiri, and some other very close personal effects. But the most important one is when they go out on the hunting expedition, whereby he goes together, the new king would then go with Amabuto. It takes a day or two going to look for a wild animal and then hunt it and come home and do all the necessary cultural traditions that are done. And then secondly, the new king is the one that will then take over his father's, artifacts, the things that he used to rule, and then one of the things that he usually been holding on his hand when the process is being done is it's the spear and the shield, But His Majesty had some weapons, he had a gun, so he'd also take care of that as well. Now they now start belonging to him. So it's a very somber and a very thorough process that is followed with a lot of respect.
Now that is obviously the process that involves the new king. What about some of the other cleansing processes that involve the rest of the royal family?
Yes, the one that I spoke about is particularly for the new king, but the rest of the family as well. It's just that there are some words in English that do not cover the process properly, like ukezwa, meaning, it's a rite or a process or a ritual that is done to cleanse other family members. Because when the time comes, it's very important that you do that. Otherwise, we as Zulus believe that if you don't go through the cleansing process, the person who's passed on never really is never really gone in your life. It's part of the psychological makeup, whereby it's now a day to say, okay, there's so many months that you've passed, we're letting you go now. So it's very important for the rest of the family as well. Remember, even if you're not in the royal family, all Zulus do that process as well. It's very, very important. Sometimes in the townships, they call it the 10 days or the washing of the amakharav, So meaning it's a process to say we've accepted that you've moved on and they start the process of healing and moving on with their lives.
Now, at what time does that process start? Is it at a given period?
Yes. In the past, it used to be 12 months, strictly 12 months. However, the late Majesty decided he doesn't want people to mourn for such a long period of time because the times have changed. There's COVID, people need to go to work. Because remember, when you're in the mourning period, there's a lot of things you're not allowed to do. So he decided people must only mourn him for 3 months. So that's why there's a lot of hive of activity in the palaces right now.
Mamshala, take us through some of those activities that members of the Zulu kingdom are unable to engage in during this mourning period.
Oh, okay. They are not, for instance, allowed to go to things like parties, entertainment, festivities. There's particular foods they cannot eat. They must keep, when they speak, they keep their voices down. It's not a time to solve problems. It's a matter of just a lot of dignity. Everything is done with a lot of, you must show that you are going through a difficult period. But there's nothing out of the ordinary that happens. It's just that you do not portray signs of being excited about whatever there is to do. But there are certain things like parts of the house that as women would not go to a certain part of the house, and the men also wouldn't do that. But it's just a whole litany of them. But there's nothing out of the ordinary. But the main thing is just to keep the somberness and a lot of things that you must do need to be dignified to show that you're going through a mourning period.
Now, I'm particularly interested in the hunt, which obviously has not happened because of the unavailability of the new king. Please take us through that process of the hunt and certainly its significance.
Oh, you see, when I did my research, when I wrote my book, Zulu Empire Decolonized, I found it very fascinating as well to see why the hunt, what kind of an animal is there. They actually killed the first available animal. that they come across. There's not, because I personally thought perhaps they need a particular animal, like maybe a springbok or whatever, or they said no, any animal that they come across that's wild, but it's also done sensitively. They do not kill certain animals or two other animals. For instance, the big five is out of the question for this purpose of cleansing, you know, because remember, the hunting has always been with black people, so they know when to hunt, what to hunt when. But for this particular purpose, the first animal they come across, and my suspicion is that it is usually a springbok. Then it gets killed, then they take it back home, and then do the rituals when they get home. You know, they kill it, they skin it, and then do what they need to do.
You've definitely gripped my attention. I'd like to ask a little bit more about that hunting process. Do they use spears? Do they use arrows? How do they kill this game if it is a
Are you ready for the gory details?
I think I am.
They chase it until they catch it. Remember, it's one of the being a prowess of being a Zulu regiment. So you need to be very fit.
You got to be a warrior.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, you're welcome, by the way. Not only for when the king's Islambo, you know, but when the other senior people in the family or senior members of the society, when they do Islambo, I'll give you a call.
You must certainly do that. I suppose my final question would be, if they do kill or slaughter the springbok, do they eat the meat? And if the game or the animal that they run into is not an animal that you eat, what do they do with it?
I don't have the detail of that. It's exactly what they do, but I know some parts they mix it with herbs, you know, and actually use it to cleanse themselves. Remember, it's a cleansing ceremony, because we believe that if you take the wild animal and you mix it with some herbs, you know, like your Misuzulu, all kinds of herbs, and then everybody in the family washes, and then you're done. But I don't know if they actually eat it. I'm not sure about it. I don't like to speculate. I'll find out, though.
Mam Shalom Bato, thank you so much for your time this morning, lecturer at the University of Zululand. Now, as we move on, South Africans have until the end of this month to comment on amendments to the Marriage Act. This after the Home Affairs Department gazetted a new green paper for marriages. We'll have a special play out coming up next. Stay with us.